What's up, world? I'm back, Eliyah, aka Young Chi, and I'm back with another topic to talk about. And this one I call the praying body. And the reason why I want to address this topic is because in my last video, I mentioned conquering the enemy. And the last video, which was better than baldness and protecting your prostate, the enemy that I'm referring to is death and disease. And I mean that on different levels. And I'll kind of get a little bit more into it a little bit later. But basically, the way to be able to conquer our enemy is through successful prayer. And I remember listening to a pastor preach one time, and one of the things that he was saying was our adversary, Satan, succumbs to power. That's how we're able to overcome our adversary, to overcome our enemy, is to be able to empower ourselves in order to be able to overcome the enemy's prayer. So basically, I call this the praying body because we automatically have natural prayers over us. Like, the functions that's happening in our bodies right now are like successful prayers. The breathing, our heartbeat, digestion. These are all like successful prayers. But the enemy has a prayer to go against that. And that's what our adversary's job is to do, is to pray against us. So we have to be able to make sure that we fuel our prayers with passion in order to be able to overcome our adversary. And one thing that I look at is, in order to be able to help with, being able to continuously develop successful prayers, especially through our body, to naturally have a prayer without even really having to think about it, to just naturally do it, is through eating healthy, exercise, and the constant cultivation of our passion. Now, I'll talk a little bit about what I mean. First, I'll start off with diet, and I don't want to get too deep into it because, that's dietetics, and that can be a whole nother video, a whole nother topic that we can go on for hours about. But one thing that I'll say real quick, I was fighting a cold a couple days ago, and I went and got a tangerine. And as soon as I put that first piece of that tangerine in my mouth, as soon as it hit my mouth, my body instantly had a reaction to it. Instantly, my energy got a boost, and I can feel it automatically, immediately fighting off that bacteria. So when I talk about diet, knowing about what foods to eat for what foods help with different things. And again, that's dietetics. And that's another subject that we can get into. But basically, the overall principle and the overall idea is to remind ourselves that we have to eat healthy. We know, we've been taught from elementary, middle school, high school, all of this. But a lot of times we have to be reminded to make sure that we do what we need to do in order to eat healthy and take care of our bodies. So that's, a little bit about eating healthy. Now, on top of that, exercise. And I think that exercise also contributes deeply, heavily into developing our spirituality. And my experience, I'll share some of my insight with it, is how we have your stretching, muscle training, cardio. These are ways for us to be able to connect deeper into a deeper level of ourselves. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. First, starting off with stretching. And when I say stretching, we stretch our physical bodies. But in the development of our spiritual bodies, we also stretch our aura. We stretch our spiritual body as well. And in both cases of stretching, I recognize that we have to have the right mentality. And I think that that comes along with having the right prayers, having the right thoughts while we're going deep into these stretches, whether it's physical or spiritual, expansion of awareness. And I noticed that if I have the wrong thoughts, that opens the gate for the enemy to come through and I get attacked. And the attack is usually, some sense of pain. Now, you already are fighting pain, when you're going through your deep stretches. But I guess you become more aware and more sensitive to it the more spiritual you become with it. And you start to recognize, especially when expanding your awareness, that in that expansion you have to have the right type of thoughts in order to make sure you're providing a healing to wherever it is you're expanding to, wherever it is you're stretching to. So basically, that's kind of like, fighting the enemy's prayer of pain. And I remember watching a video about the Shaolin monks, and one of the things, the Shaolin warriors, one of the things that they teach is the deeper you're able to stretch, the more flexible you are, the more pain you're able to endure. So that's one thing that I think is very, very important and very interesting in dealing with our stretches, is to make sure we have the right prayer, have the right ideas that helps us, to go deeper into those stretches. So the same principle of having the right prayer, having the right mentality in our workouts and, muscle training and cardio. And I'm pretty sure most people, especially, who are really into their exercises and fitness, they recognize, having the right mentality. When you go into that workout, having the right mentality, you're able to train harder, you're able to endure more. And being able to practice. Now, to each is his own of however it is that you get into the zone. But one thing that helps me is, one key principle is remembering that I'm fighting off laziness. That's one adversary spirit. So in order to be able to go deeper into that workout, and to, what's so special about it is the exercise is connecting deep into the very core essence of our being, the very source of our being. And I think that gives us a greater connection. That exercise gives us a greater connection to the source of our being in order to be able to help open up that source and make that energy readily available and accessible through having the right mentality, having the right thoughts, ideas, and prayers during that workout. So that's one thing that I think is very important as well, especially on the path of ascension. And, some people, I became aware of different things. I'll probably get into it in another video. I don't want to talk too much in this one. But basically, some people starts to get into like magical rituals and things of that nature. And one thing that I remember watching a video on one dealing with rituals is, one of the warnings was to make sure that you're fit, make sure that you are healthy before you get into these rituals, because people have died mysterious deaths practicing different rituals, going into different states of consciousness. So you want to make sure that you have a healthy body that's praying for you while you're going through these different dimensions. And I can get into that in another video because it's very, very deep. But that's, eating healthy and exercising is one way of definitely making sure that we have successful prayers over us naturally. So there's one more thing, and that's the development of passion. And I talk a little bit about it in Ascension 101 with the constant cultivation of our foundation energy, root chakra, sacral, some people may call it sexual energy, to the constant cultivation of that energy. And basically, as we get excited, instead of perverting that energy, we want to convert that energy and to get it to rise up and expand throughout the rest of our body and help to strengthen in our aura, which also helps to contribute to those successful prayers. And you hear about a lot of people who talk about, being successful in life, being able to make breakthroughs, breaking past barriers, and pushing towards success. You have to have passion. That passion helps to drive you to wherever it is you're trying to manifest. So that's I guess those three things are like the three key principles that I want to talk about: is eating healthy, exercise, and that constant cultivation of that energy, that passion, because that is definitely needed in order to have successful prayers. And in order to be able to overcome the adversary. Now, one more thing that I want to mention before I close this video out is, we have our physical bodies, but we also can think of it. Remember, our body, it looks as if it's one organism, but it's a community of organisms working together, many different organisms working together. And basically, the adversary tries to sever that connection, that communication, and send off the wrong signals or whatever it may be in order to cause disease. And that's something that, in order for us to be able to have successful prayers, in order for us to be able to have a healthy body, we have to conquer that adversary spirit. And that's the same thing when dealing with organizations. And basically, one thing that I was watching a lecture from Donald Trump, and one of the things he said that I liked was that your organization or your company is like a living, breathing organism. So treat it that way. To know who to bring in, who helps contribute, and then who doesn't contribute, and who to let go. So, when dealing with your circle, that's like a body. When you're dealing with the groups of people, teams, companies, organizations, that's like a body. Same thing like with the church. They call it the body of Christ. So you want to make sure that you have the right people with the right prayers and the right mentality to help to be able to manifest whatever it is you're trying to do. Whether it's something, it could be something basic, or it could be a miracle that you're trying to manifest. Having the right people around, and you can tell when you have the right people around with the right mentality, and that the enemy has been vanquished. That's the key. When you have a goal that's set, and you have a group that's working, or a team that's working toward that goal, you can sense when the enemy has been vanquished, because you can relax and breathe easy. And you can sense in your thoughts the right thoughts that help to be able to contribute to that forward motion towards success. So that's all I really wanted to share with this video. Was just a little bit about my insights about facing pain and laziness with the right type of prayer, facing our adversary with the right type of prayer, in order to make sure we're providing healing, especially in our spiritual expansion. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. These type of topics, this type of stuff that I love to talk about. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. You can leave a comment, or what may have you. But until next time, y'all, peace, much love.